How am I supposed to sleep when I don't know how, when, where, or why Black Widow dyed her hair blonde? Ever since her introduction in Iron Man 2, fans have been clamouring for Black Widow to receive her own solo film for years. But unbeknownst to most, this had actually been in the works way before the MCU was even a thing. It all started in 2004 when Lionsgate acquired the rights to the character, with David Hayter of Metal Gear Solid fame slated to write and direct. However, funding for the project soon collapsed and the rights reverted back to Marvel in 2006. Hayter was admittedly heartbroken over this, but still hoped the movie would get made one day. Eventually, Scarlett Johansson took on the role in Iron Man 2, signing a deal that included options for multiple films. And after the positive audience response to the character in the Avengers, Marvel began to consider reopening the possibility of a Black Widow movie.
I don't want to do this.
After the release of Age of Ultron, Kevin Feige stated that he wanted to see more of Black Widow's backstory, which had been hinted at in the film, hiring Nicole Perlman, who wrote Captain Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy, to write a treatment, though he stated that the movie wouldn't be made for another 4 or 5 years. Joss Whedon fully backed this plan and was actually keen to direct the film himself because Lord knows he can't witness someone else write about a strong kick-ass female hero character.
Don't say that.
David Hayter again expressed interest in directing, as did Neil Marshall, but both were turned down, as Feige wanted to hire a female filmmaker to take on the project instead.
So, this was the big plan, huh?
A short list of over 65 directors were considered, including Denise Gamza Erguven, Chloe Zhao, Amma Asante, Lynn Shelton, Lucretia Martel, Maggie Betts, Melanie Lauren, and Kimberly Pierce, before selecting Kate Shortland, who was handpicked by Johansson as she was a big fan of her film lore. Ned Benson and Eric Pearson were both brought on to write the script in February 2019 and decided to set the film between Civil War and Infinity War. Yeah, George Lucas would be proud, stating that they wanted this film to be a good standalone entry whilst also delivering what would be expected of a prequel, calling it the Better Call Saul to the MCU's Breaking Bad.
What a sick joke!
An initial version of the script also included a scene set during Civil War, with Robert Downey Jr. reprising his role, but the director decided against this as they wanted Natasha to be able to stand on her own without adding in any other superheroes, and they also felt that showing Tony too much after his death in Endgame would lessen its impact. So instead they decided to insert a character whose entire arc revolves around his connection to Captain America and have Cap constantly referred to throughout the entire film, despite knowing that they couldn't actually show Chris Evans anyway.
Captain America.
Captain America was still frozen.
Captain America.
Captain America.
Natasha is standing on her own 2 feet.
Did he talk to you about me?
No, because that would mean that this film is actually referenced in the other movies, and that would just make too much sense. Why are these films afraid to have the titular hero's movie about the titular hero?
It's fine.
A scene at the end of the film in which Thaddeus Ross pursues Romanoff was deliberately left unresolved, as Shortland wanted to leave the audience on a high, questioning how Romanoff escapes rather than exhausting them with another fight. I was more left with the question, why should I give a shit?
I have no idea.
The writers also said they wanted to include another spy character that would be morally opposed to Natasha, eventually settling on Yelena Belova, who eventually took on the Black Widow mantle in the comics. Saoirse Ronan, Emma Watson, and Alice Engler were considered for the role before it was given to Florence Pugh after they saw her performance as Paige in Fighting With My Family. However, Marvel only paid the creators of Yelena in the comics $5,000 for the rights, less than $25,000 that they were contracted to, and it was only when the creators went public about this that they finally paid the remaining amount.
You're welcome.
Filming was supposed to take place in Russia, but they were far too busy starting wars for no reason, so it was instead moved to Norway and Hungary and began in May 2019, with the director citing inspiration from How to Train Your Dragon, No Country for Old Men, and Thelma and Louise. Random selection.
Yeah, great plan.
And also said that the Jason Bourne movies inspired this film's action. Filming officially wrapped in October 2019 and was supposed to come out on May the 1st the following year, but due to the COVID pandemic, cinemas were forced to close and many big budget movies such as No Time to Die and A Quiet Place Part 2 were forced to move the release dates, putting into question whether this film would do the same. Feige initially put his foot down and refused to change the release date, but eventually caved and shifted the movie's opening date to November the 6th, causing later releases in the MCU to also be moved. However, after Christopher Nolan's Tenet badly underperformed due to COVID restrictions affecting cinema attendance, the release date was moved again to May the following year, with Feige insisting that it would only be shown in theaters and shutting down rumors that the film would be released on Disney Plus instead. The release date was moved yet again to July, and because Feige apparently has the memory of a goldfish, it was also announced that the film would be released in both cinemas and Disney Plus for premium members.
It's a shit plan.
However, Johansson was furious about this decision, as her contract had stated that the film would only be released in cinemas, leading to her filing a lawsuit against Feige, Marvel, and Disney for screwing her out of money that they owed her. I would have sued them just for making a shit film. Disney refuted this, accusing Johansson of being insensitive about the pandemic and cheating their financial partners out of their streaming profits, claiming that her $20 million salary should have been more than enough. This game of he said, she said went back and forth for over 2 months until Disney finally caved and gave Johansson the money that they owed her, and the lawsuit resulted in all future Disney releases either being only shown in cinemas or going straight to streaming to prevent future conflicts. However, the issues between herself and Disney pretty much killed any possibility of Johansson ever returning to the MCU. I mean, and the fact that her character, died.
This is a much less cool way to die.
Black Widow was finally released on July the 9th, 2021, and though reviews were mostly positive, the film ended up being the least profitable MCU movie since The Incredible Hulk, only grossing $379 million worldwide. Whether this was due to the pandemic and the hybrid release affecting cinema attendance, or due to a declining interest in the MCU, or just that the movie was arse gravy is completely up for debate. Despite this low gross, it still managed to be the 5th highest grossing film of the year upon release, but given the lack of releases due to the pandemic, it's not really saying a whole lot.
I wish I could believe that you cared.
Comic fans were also very disappointed by the film's portrayal of Taskmaster, calling it a massive downgrade from the comics, and claiming that it was a massive wasted opportunity for the character.
Oh, it was awful.
The main reason Black Widow doesn't work is because it's about 5 years too late. Who honestly still cared about this solo movie in 2019, let alone 2021? I mean, the release date wasn't really their fault, but once the Avengers were mostly dead or disbanded, did anyone really care about this film happening anymore? Especially considering it's set between Civil War and Infinity War. It's an interesting setup as she goes on the run. It's a pretty cool idea. If it was 2017, it's like asking for a bike when you're 10 and then someone finally gives you it when you're 25. I'm just saying you kind of missed the opportunity, guys. Natasha and her sister Yelena are locked up by faux parents who are actually Russian spies and super soldiers, one of which apparently starts as Jeffrey Dahmer and then decades go by and he becomes Jack Nicholson, which is nice.
My parents still live in Ohio.
But hey, her parents aren't dead! They finally got the message and they stopped killing off superheroes' parents! Yay!
But your mother, she never stopped looking for you. Jacob had her killed.
Son of a bitch! Every fucking time!
I was never given a choice.
The film continues to echo my point. There is no creativity or originality. It's just a generic action film. It literally starts with 2 parents rushing away and going into hiding to protect their children. How many times have we seen this? And it's the first scene. It's another story of a mysterious masked villain who knows all of the hero's moves and tricks, so we have to figure out who it is. This is new, and it turns out it's Clint Howard? At least Marvel were able to get their fix for their boner of the hero fighting an evil version of themselves. Again, the dialogue is cliche.
Took my childhood.
All of the action is boring and generic. There's nothing new or inventive. I'm sorry, but after 24 movies, you're gonna have to try harder than just boom, clap, clap, ow, look at this! It has some of the worst CGI fire ever put to film. It looks horrendous. It's bad enough that all of this shit is going on and I don't care, but I make it look like arse as well. Another problem is that 95% of this film is filler. This movie is over 2 hours long and it didn't really need to be. Just listen to some of these truly engaging pieces of dialogue.
I am reaching for fish. Oh, I lose balance. Ah, splash. My hands go in the river. In this weather, frostbite sets in quick. My father, he go toilet on my hands.
Oh my God.
Urine is
Oh my
35 degrees Celsius.
Natasha, don't slouch.
I'm not slouching.
Yes, you are. You're going to
I
get
don't
the-
slouch.
You're going to get the back hunch.
Listen to your mother.
Oh my God, this.
Up.
All right, enough. All of you.
I didn't say anything. That's what happens when the Red Room gives you an involuntary hysterectomy. They kind of just go in and they rip out all of your reproductive organs. They just get right in there and they chop them all away, everything out.
Okay.
So you can't have
Okay, you
babies.
don't have to get so clinical and nasty.
Oh, well, I was about to talk about fallopian tubes.
It's like when you told them that they could stay up late to catch Santa Claus.
Oh, that was fun, you know. You come down the chimney, girl. Look out, where is he? You wait for him, and then when the cookies are gone, then you see he's there. No, I want them to follow their dreams.
No good.
Reach for the stars.
How is this relevant?
In fact, sometimes there are scenes going on that connect to nothing. It's so dull and so boring, the director even knows, so she just focuses the camera on Scarlett Johansson's ass instead. This is pathetic on a whole new level. But if you thought Star Wars were the masters of unnecessary backstories, this movie truly answers the deep personal questions. Look, she has hair dye, and there, she's blonde. That truly was the greatest night's sleep I have ever had. Finally knowing how Natasha Romanoff dyed her hair and when. Coming up next, we're going to show how Bruce Banner's latest dentist appointment went.
Well, if you don't want it, throw it in the rubbish.
I guess the escape at the start is a little intense as Natasha's mum gets shot, so she has to take control of the plane to escape while their dad clings onto the wing of the plane. So it turns out the villain Dreykov, which is apparently Russian for crap, which is a little funny, even if he can't decide which accent he wants to go for.
She watches everything. And she can do it. She's a perfect mimic. And she fights just like all of your friends.
But his daughter was brutally murdered by Natasha. Our hero!
Bullshit.
But credit to Scarlett Johansson, her acting is insane. She does seem like a broken woman who is completely haunted by her own actions. And that's one thing I can't fault the film for. Scarlett Johansson's performance is tremendous. It's the only saving grace this film has, making it marginally better than Captain Marvel. And I must admit, Yelena kind of breaks the fourth wall and makes fun of Natasha's fighting pose, which is kind of funny. Even more so because Florence Pugh genuinely pointed it out to Scarlett Johansson and it was put into the movie. The film's message is based around family. Natasha considers the Avengers her family despite them not being blood related, so now she has to accept Yelena as her family despite not being blood related. Wait, what's the point in this film again?
I'm still not sure.
Anyway, when they bond and learn to get along, I'm just not invested. The character of Natasha was so interesting in the other movies, and I'm not opposed to a movie about her origin, but this is just dull. They all reunite and it's supposed to be this big heartwarming moment, but no, it's just there. The entire film is a pointless waste of time. It's just a massive nothing. There's a scene where the girls break the dad out of prison, but why does he even need them? He literally breaks through cells, doors and walls like they're butter. He could clearly get out of here anytime he wanted. I think the movie also forgot that Natasha is literally just a human being. She survives a massive car explosion. She's able to swing by and grab a grown super soldier with one arm and can carry him to safety. She's able to pull off shit like this. How is she doing this? It's not even like she has body armor or a suit or anything. Then again, if Yelena can somehow survive this jump at this velocity and not die in midair, who gives a shit? She can survive anything. They also try so desperately to turn the dad into this comedy character, and he's so painfully unfunny. And it turns out they now have Mission Impossible technology, and Natasha can hide her damn face. And height, apparently. Yep, the MC is still Scooby fucking Doo. The Skrulls could be anyone and Natasha could be anyone. This is bullshit. And if you think it can't possibly get any sillier...
Smelling my pheromones prevents you from committing violence against me.
This evil villain gets away with his evil scheme because he smells. Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen, defeated by not showering. I mean, why can't she just go away outside of the room and shoot him from a distance where she wouldn't smell him? We also find out that Natasha already knew about this beforehand and she's trying to get him to break her nose. But why does she still take so long to do it herself? He literally has a gun. But turns out he's actually George Lucas.
When was the last time that you had a conversation with somebody that wasn't forced to talk to you?
It's convenient that she's able to single-handedly break and sever the exact correct nerve in her nose in one attempt as well. Very skilled. And of course, when they've all been ordered to attack her, of course they only do it one by fucking one. Fuck me, I'm bored. The ending is so weird. She manages to save his daughter at the last minute, but then it's treated like they're mates and it's this big emotional moment. No. This film's bloody crap. And anytime you believe it's gonna wrap up, more bullshit comes. In the original script, Yelena never actually made up with her parents and still hated them at the end of the film. However, David Harbour had the idea that the dad should prove he really did love her by showing he still remembered her favourite song, resulting in American Pie being added to the opening escape scene so they could use it later. And the shocking thing is, I don't care.
It's funny, my whole life I didn't think I had any family. Turns out I got two. So, one of them is a bit of a mess right now. I'm gonna go break a few of them out of prison.
I never mention any of this to any of them and never explain how I stopped being a vigilante running from the government. And after the credits, she visits Natasha's grave, and to be fair, the movie does do one thing right.
Maybe you'd like a shot at the man responsible for your sister's death.
Yes! All is forgiven! Kill him! Kill him with fire! This movie is such a delayed disappointment. It was made too late, but even back then, it does nothing to separate itself and answers pointless questions nobody asked. It's boring with bland characters, the humour is about as funny as a dog being put down, the action is either dull as balls or impossible to make out, and it's the most generic shit you've already seen over and over again. There's nothing creative about it. I doubt the Disney Plus release was the only reason it flopped. It's a waste of time and energy for everyone involved, including and especially the audience. Phase 4's off to a great start, guys.